Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today we're tearing in some really fascinating sources, all circling around this deceptively simple question. How can you engineer world-class results using what seem like insignificant actions? We're talking about atomic habits. The word atomic meaning that single irreducible unit of a bigger system. So today, we're going small, really small, to achieve something massive.
Exactly. And the philosophy tying all this together is something called the aggregation of marginal gains. It's a very disciplined way of thinking, recognizing that real change. It doesn't usually come from one huge effort. It's more about finding these tiny, persistent improvements in, well, pretty much every variable in your life.
Right. And the ultimate proof for this has got to be from elite sports, specifically British professional cycling. Before about 2003, they were frankly a bit of a punchline for almost a century. I mean, true mediocrity. Since 1908, they'd only snagged a single Olympic gold medal. I read somewhere that one big European bike maker actually refused to sell them bikes. Can you believe that?
Yeah, refused because they were afraid it would actually hurt their brand if the Brits were seen riding them. It was that bad.
Wow. That level of humiliation.
Total disaster. But then this coach, Dave Brailsford, he took over and he brought in this aggregation of marginal gain strategy. The core idea, find a tiny 1% improvement in absolutely everything.
And they became, well, obsessive about it. They started with the obvious stuff, naturally. Things like redesigned bike seats for comfort, testing racing fabrics in wind tunnels.
Rubbing alcohol on the tires for just a fraction more grip, tiny things.
But then they went into areas you just wouldn't expect.
Oh,
Right?
yeah. They optimized sleep, bringing in specific mattresses, pillows tailored for each rider. Had riders wear these electrically heated overshorts. Why? To keep muscle temperature just right between races.
Okay, that's getting specific.
And get this. They hired a surgeon. Not for surgery, but to teach the team the best way to wash their hands, just to cut down on colds during competition.
A surgeon for hand washing? That's commitment. But the detail that really blew my mind. And it just shows the scope. Painting the inside of the team truck white.
Right. Seems odd, doesn't it?
It does. Why?
So they could spot tiny bits of dust easier. Dust that might mess with the performance of those super finely tuned bikes. It was all about removing friction, removing waste, no matter how tiny or hidden it seemed.
And the results?
Staggering. Just 5 years later, 2008 Beijing Olympics. British cycling won 60% of the available gold medals. And they kept going. Dominated the Tour de France, winning it 5 times in 6 years shortly after that.
Incredible transformation. So our mission today is really to unpack the almost counterintuitive math behind that kind of compounding, and then show you how to apply the 4 sort of fundamental laws of behavior change in your own life.
Let's dive into that math first because it really is the root of this whole atomic idea. We tend to chase huge breakthroughs, We want the ice to melt instantly.
Yeah, we focus on the goal, the big win.
But the real gains are exponential. They're not linear. The math shows that getting just 1% better every day. It sounds tiny.
Insignificant almost.
Right. But do it every day for a year, and the result is you're 37 times better by the end. It's the power of compounding.
37 times. That's hard to wrap your head around.
It is. And the flip side is just as powerful, maybe more sobering. Get 1% worse each day, and you don't just stagnate.
You decay.
You decay almost completely. So habits are definitely this double-edged sword.
Small, positive ones, learning a bit more each day, being slightly kinder in interactions, they compound upwards into something amazing over time.
Exactly. But the negative ones do too. Little stresses, negative self-talk, maybe poor food choices. They stack up silently. And then suddenly you have these big problems that seem to come out of nowhere, but they've been building. Time is either your ally or your enemy here. It's compounding advantage or disadvantage.
The really tricky part, though, and probably why most people give up on new habits, is surviving what the source material calls the plateau of latent potential. That feeling when you're putting in the work day after day, but nothing seems to be changing.
And this is where the ice analogy is just perfect. Think about ice at, say, 25 degrees. You raise the temperature, 26, 27, all the way to 31 degrees. Still ice. No visible change, right?
Right. Still frozen.
But that tiny shift, just 1 degree from 31 to 32, boom, breakthrough.
The ice melts.
Exactly. All the work, all the energy put in from 25 to 31 degrees suddenly pays off in this huge visible transformation. But you had to get through that plateau where nothing seemed to be happening.
It's so easy to get discouraged in that 25 to 31 zone. That's why you need that stonecutter idea in your head. You know, the one.
Yeah.
The rock finally splits, but it wasn't just the last hit. It was the 100 blows that came before it.
Mastery takes patience. Patience with the repetition.
Okay, so if patience is key, how do we sustain it? You mentioned it's not about the result.
It's about who you become. This brings us to a really core idea: identity. The deepest form of motivation isn't chasing a result. It's when the behavior becomes part of who you are.
Like the stonecutter isn't just hammering, he is a stonecutter.
Yeah.
So every habit, every small action is like a vote.
A vote for or against the type of person you want to be. Every time you say, start a workout, you're casting a vote for, I am an athlete. Every time you track your spending, you cast a vote for, I am financially responsible.
That reframes it completely. It's not about achieving something, it's about embodying something.
And often this insight comes after, well, some kind of pain or setback. The author, James Clear, talks about his own experience, getting hit in the face with a baseball bat as a kid, skull fractures, coma. It was incredibly serious.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, and the recovery was long, difficult. He eventually got cut from the varsity baseball team, just devastating. He was at rock bottom, really, and he realized the only way forward was to start incredibly small. Habits so tiny, he literally couldn't fail at them.
Okay, so starting small. But where do you even begin? You have to know what habits to change.
Exactly. You start with observation. This leads us to the first law. Make it obvious. First step. Get your current habits out of the subconscious and into the light. Use something like a habits scorecard. Just list your daily habits and mark them. Plus for positive, minus for negative, equals for neutral.
But positive or negative depends on your goals,
Right.
right? Like eating a bagel could be bad if you're cutting carbs, make good if you're trying to bulk up.
Precisely. The key question for scoring isn't just, is this good or bad in general? It's, does this behavior help me become the type of person I wish to be? Does this habit cast a vote for or against my desired identity? That's the filter.
Got it. So identify the habits, score them based on identity. Then what? How do you make the good ones obvious?
The most effective way is to be specific about when and where. Don't just say, I'll meditate more. Create what's called an implementation intention. The formula is, I will behavior at time and location. Okay. So, after I pour my morning coffee, I will meditate for 1 minute at the kitchen table. Something like that.
Perfect. It removes ambiguity. Your brain knows exactly what to do, when, and where. The cue is obvious.
And speaking of cues, the environment plays a huge role here too, doesn't it? Like that paramedic story.
That's a powerful example of unconscious cue recognition. She instantly knew her father-in-law was in trouble because, after years of experience, her brain automatically spotted a subtle pattern in his face, blood distribution linked to artery blockage.
Wow. Years of repetition made that cue totally obvious to her subconscious.
That's the automatic brain.
Yeah.
So the question becomes, how do we consciously design our environment to trigger the right automatic responses? Because honestly, motivation is often overrated. Your environment matters much, much more.
Absolutely. That Massachusetts General Hospital cafeteria study is brilliant. Dr. Ann Thorndike, she didn't lecture anyone. Nope. No posters, no talks. She just changed the choice architecture, as they call it. She simply added bottled water to the displays right next to the cash registers, where before there was only soda.
Such a simple change. And the result?
Soda sales dropped over 11%. Water sales jumped by more than 25%. Just by making the healthier choice slightly more obvious, more convenient. Nobody's willpower magically increased. The environment just nudged them. It's the invisible hand shaping your behavior.
Okay, so make the cues obvious, design your environment. What's next in making habits stick?
Next, we need to tackle the motivation side directly. This is the second law. Make it attractive. Habits are driven by dopamine. Our brains release it not just when we experience pleasure, but when we anticipate it. So if we can link a habit we need to do with something that triggers that dopamine anticipation, we're golden.
So you make the necessary thing feel desirable. How do you do that?
A great technique is called temptation bundling. You pair an action you want to do with an action you need to do.
Okay, give me an example.
Let's say you need to exercise more, but you want to catch up on your favorite Netflix show. You bundle them. The rule becomes, I can only watch Netflix while I'm on the treadmill.
So the desire to watch the show pulls you through the resistance to exercise.
Exactly. The formula is, after I habit I need, I will get to habit I want. You use the craving for the want habit as the immediate reward for doing the need habit. Makes the tough stuff more attractive.
That makes a lot of sense. Okay, so we've made it obvious, made it attractive, but you still have to actually do the thing. That feels like the biggest hurdle.
It often is. Which brings us to the third law. Make it easy. This taps into a fundamental principle of human behavior, the law of least effort.
Meaning we're inherently lazy.
Not lazy, necessarily, efficient. Our brains are wired to conserve energy. We naturally gravitate towards the option that requires the least work. It's actually a smart survival strategy. The idea isn't to only do easy things, but to make the right things, the beneficial long-term habits, as easy as possible in the moment.
Reduce the friction.
Precisely. And this often means prioritizing action over perfection. Think about that photography class experiment.
Right. The quantity versus quality groups.
Yeah. One group, graded purely on the number of photos they turned in, 100 photos, got an A. The other group, graded on submitting just one single perfect photo.
And counterintuitively, the quantity group produced all the best photos.
They did. Why? Because they weren't paralyzed by trying to be perfect. They were out there doing it, taking hundreds of pictures, making mistakes, learning, experimenting. They got their reps in. The quality group spent too much time theorizing about perfection and not enough time practicing.
So making easy means just starting, even imperfectly, and removing obstacles.
Yes. Addition by subtraction. We talked about the cycling team removing dust. Think about Japanese lean production in factories. They obsessively remove waste. They might redesign a whole workspace just so workers don't waste a few seconds twisting to grab a tool. It adds up.
How do we apply that kind of friction reduction at home?
Through environmental design again, but focused on ease. Like that IT developer, Oswald Knuckles, who resets the room after every activity. Folds the blanket, puts the remote back, tidies the desk. It's not just about being neat.
It's about making the next intended action easier to start.
Exactly. Priming the environment. If you want to practice guitar, don't leave it in the case in the closet. Put it on a stand in the living room.
Like the apple example. Apples in the fridge, crisper, never eaten. Apples in a bowl on the counter, eaten daily.
Simple friction reduction. Making the good habit the path of least resistance. Fewer steps between you and the desired action.
Okay, so that's making good habits easy. Can we flip it for bad habits?
Absolutely. That's the inversion of the third law. Make it difficult. Increase the friction for behaviors you want to avoid.
Ah, like the Victor Hugo story.
Classic example. Facing an impossible deadline for the Hunchback of Notre Dame, what did he do?
He had his assistant lock away all his clothes, except for this big, shapeless shawl.
Right. Made it physically impossible for him to go outside and get distracted. He created massive friction, forced himself to stay in and write. That's a commitment device.
What's a modern version? Locking away cookies.
Could be. Or maybe something simpler. Struggling with phone distraction. Don't just put it face down on your desk. Put it in a different room entirely until lunchtime. That little bit of friction having to physically get up and retrieve it can save you hours of focused work.
Make the bad habit harder to access. Increase the steps.
The more friction you add, the less likely the bad habit becomes.
Okay, this is great. Obvious, attractive, easy. What's the final piece to make it all stick long term?
The crucial final step. The fourth law. Make it satisfying. This boils down to the cardinal rule of behavior change. What is rewarded is repeated.
Makes sense. We do things that feel good.
Yes, but here's the challenge. Our brains evolved in what scientists call an immediate return environment. Our ancestors were rewarded now for finding food, finding shelter. Modern life, though, is full of delayed return scenarios. We work out today for health benefits months or years down the line. We save money now for retirement decades away.
And that delay makes it really hard to stay motivated because the reward isn't immediate.
Exactly. The payoff feels too distant. So the solution is to find a way to inject some immediate satisfaction into those beneficial long-term habits.
How do you manufacture that satisfaction?
Look at the hand-washing study in Karachi, Pakistan. Stephen Luby and his team knew hand-washing was vital for health in an area with poor sanitation, but people just weren't doing it consistently.
So what did they do? More education?
No, they introduced a better soap, a soap that foamed nicely, smelled great. It made the act of washing hands itself more pleasant, more enjoyable.
They made the process itself immediately satisfying on a sensory level.
Precisely. It wasn't just about hygiene anymore. It felt good. And that immediate positive feedback, it led to a 52% reduction in diarrhea among kids in the study group. They linked the habit to an immediate pleasure.
Wow. Okay, what about habits that don't have an obvious sensory reward, like making sales calls?
That's where visible progress comes in. The paperclip strategy used by stockbroker Trent Dursmid is brilliant. He started each day with 2 jars on his desk. One held 120 paper clips. The other was empty. After each sales call he made, he moved one paperclip from the full jar to the empty jar.
Simple visual tracking.
But incredibly effective. Each moved clip was a small, immediate, satisfying signal of progress. It gave him that little win, that hit of satisfaction right after completing the task. That visible evidence of his work piling up helped him stay motivated, and apparently he brought in $5 million in deals pretty quickly.
Okay, that works for doing good habits. What about avoiding bad ones, like not spending money frivolously? There's no action to reward there.
That's a key challenge. Avoidance is invisible, so you have to make the benefit of avoidance visible and satisfying.
No.
The savings account trick. Let's say you want to stop buying that expensive $5 coffee every day. When you successfully skip it, immediately transfer that $5 you didn't spend into a separate savings account and label that account something specific you're saving for trip to Italy or new leather jacket.
So you get the immediate satisfaction of seeing that specific fund grow. You turn the lack of action into a positive, visible reward.
Exactly. You're making the avoidance satisfying.
This is powerful stuff. But is there a danger in tracking and measuring everything?
There definitely is. We have to be aware of Goodhart's law, which basically states, when a measure becomes a target, it ceases to be a good measure. Think about step counters. If you become obsessed with hitting 10,000 steps, you might start pacing around your living room at 11 p.m., even if you're exhausted.
Right, you optimize for the number, not the actual goal, which is better health.
Precisely. You start gaming the metric instead of focusing on the underlying principle. So measurement is crucial for satisfaction and progress, but only when it guides you and gives context. It shouldn't become the sole focus consuming you.
Okay, this has been a true deep dive. We've covered the almost unbelievable power of compounding tiny gains. And we've walked through the 4 laws: make it obvious, make it attractive, make it easy, and make it satisfying. The core message feels really clear. Success isn't about those giant heroic moments. It's a gradual thing, an evolution built on loads of small atomic wins stacking up over time.
That's it. And to really master this, to stick with it for the long haul, there are maybe 2 final concepts to keep in mind. The first is what's called the Goldilocks rule. It suggests that we hit peak motivation when we're working on tasks that are right on the edge of our current ability.
Not too hard, not too easy.
It's just right. Challenging enough to keep you engaged, but not so difficult that you get discouraged and give up. You need that sense of manageable challenge.
Okay, find the sweet spot. And the second concept?
This one might be the most critical truth for long-term success. The biggest threat isn't failure. It's boredom.
Boredom, really.
Think about it. Anyone can get excited about starting a new diet or workout routine for a week or 2. The novelty is high. But what happens when that initial excitement fades? When the results aren't coming fast enough? When it just becomes routine? Amateurs let life get in the way when things get boring. Professionals, they stick to the schedule. They show up even when they don't feel like it. They fall in love with the process, even the repetitive parts.
They fall in love with the boredom of practice.
That's a good way to put it. They understand that mastery requires repeating the fundamentals day in and day out, long after the initial thrill is gone. Continuous improvement isn't always exciting. Often it's just consistent effort.
So the final thought for everyone listening.
Reflect on your routine right now. Ask yourself, what is the most boring, maybe tedious, repetitive task that, if you actually committed to doing it consistently every single day, would likely yield the greatest long-term reward for you? Which habit are you ready to embrace, maybe even fall in love with the sheer quiet boredom of? Because that's probably where your next real breakthrough is hiding.